Some are curious, some are distinct. So we start with your question, Rita.
Yeah, so I was asking you the about the watching the movies which are very vulgar or violent, or where it shows the most heinous part of humanity, and does that affect you? And it probably won't, because you are at a different frequency. But what about laymen, people like me? I would just address myself. I get affected. So what would you say about that?
Whatever you are talking about, the interesting part is that which sources everything about our universe, that being or that individual, is much worse than what you see in the movies. And if we live in the world of such an individual, why would we be, at least for me, because you were surprised, I wasn't that much affected with vulgarity or violence or whatever we call that negativity to be. Because I know firsthand this individual who calls himself the ultimate within our universe. I'm not talking the ultimate outside our universe. But the ultimate within our universe is so horrible, so pathetic, so worst, that I am not surprised as to what he creates through the humans. And basically he uses the humans to exactly do the things that he himself did. And humans cannot do it to the extent that he did, because we do not have his powers, we do not have his reach, we do not have his creativity, and we do not have his way of giving pain to others. So compared to what he does, the worst of the humans, the worst of the activities are pretty lukewarm. But I can say this from what I know. And because I know all these things, and I am just an observer of the worst things happening in life, does that mean that they do not affect me? Yeah, in a way they do affect me. In what way? Like, if there is something that scares me, my heartbeat goes fast. If there is something that is very repulsive, I do get repulsed. If there is something which is very vulgar, it is distasteful. I am not saying it is tasty. But the point is, it doesn't leave an impression which is disturbing in me. It shows up in the moment and subsides a bit later. It doesn't leave with me any thought as to why people do what they do. So this is the difference between me and other people.
Beautiful.
So yes, it doesn't bother you, but a lay person like myself, it bothers me. So I'm asking for the recommendation. Would you recommend that it's okay to watch? Because if when you go in a conversation with somebody and they say, "Oh, it doesn't bother me," I watch it and I forget about it and I don't even think about it the next day. But I feel like it definitely goes somewhere into your system. We are not at the same frequency as you are, sir. Well, so that people like us, it does get into this. So I'm just asking you, would you recommend that it's okay to watch and get so affected, and in some way it outplays? Like, violence in is violence out. It's what my understanding is. Or anything heinous that we put inside, it comes out somewhere in our behavior and action. Somewhere it comes out. So
The first thing that you asked me whether I would recommend you watching those things, no, I would say don't watch it. The second thing is, each one of us have a different level of sensitivity. And because of the different level of sensitivity, some of us is almost highly disturbed even for days and weeks, and some of us can get over it within a few minutes or an hour. Now you have to understand, it's like if I want to become a weightlifter, now I do not have that kind of physique to be a weightlifter. In the same way, you do not have the emotional strength to watch certain things which are highly, let's say, disturbing, and yet remain in a place of tranquility. That being so, you shouldn't do what the friend that you were talking about can do. We all have to live within our limitations. We all have to live within our weakness. We all have to live within our capacity to withstand the pressure of life, forces of life, and the events of life. So we do not copy each other. We do not try to become like each other. We do not try to imitate. And we do not try to prove something to ourselves as to this is how strong I am. On the contrary, I am perfectly okay being very weak, being very vulnerable, being easily disturbed, being not able to withstand any kind of pressure. So that's what I am as a body-mind personality. And that being so, I am perfectly okay being that. And I don't try to prove myself that I can be any better than that. Neither I try to become anything better than that. And that gives me a lot of freedom. So that's what I would recommend, that you have that freedom of knowing your limitations, living within your limitations, and enjoying life to the extent that you can within your limitations.
Beautiful.
So my joie de vivre, my joy of life will be different for somebody else's joy of life. And I just follow what gives me that joy.
True.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, whatever you spoke about life, about the way it is, and nothing's gonna change, it is as planned. I liked it very much to listen from you. What I wanted to know from you is what is death, and if it is a feeling, is it soothing or is it painful? And is it same for you and for me?
When you go to sleep, do you come to know the point where you were awake and the next moment you were asleep? You don't come to know. In the same way, you will not come to know that point when you were alive and when you are no more alive. You will have zero experience of death, just as you have zero experience of falling into sleep. And because you will have zero experience of death, then death is neither soothing nor it is painful. Okay?
And is it same for you and me?
Yes, death will be always same for every human. There might be a lot of pain prior to death, but the phenomena of death itself is same for every human.
But like God and for me.
When you refer to me as God, that which will die is not God, but that which will die is a body-mind mechanism that this individual is. And when this individual dies, I will have the same no experience as you will have the same no experience with death.
Very insightful.
So in extension to that, I had that question since he brought it up. One of mine is that what after you? Like now goddess and God were there. Okay. Now she left, body, mind, personality. And now at some point, this body, mind, personality will leave. Then what? Then what, in the sense, your work or who will give your message or the videos go on, whatever.
I will be around for some time because it is the will of God that I be around. But once I leave, whenever that is, even God is going to go. But God will still be accessible to those who wants to connect with God. Maybe my work will remain through the videos, maybe it will remain through the book. But there will not be a human who will come forth like me. Because God doesn't need to be in this universe once I die. So till God wants to be in this universe, I have to live.
Okay.
I had a question that when we die, the process which we normally go through is, Ram Naam Satya. This is how the process is being. And then whatever rituals happen, it happens for the fallen king. So, from your side, what should be the ritual like? What is the process like after that, the death? What do you think should process?
Because you have to understand the very purpose of the rituals. Now, she mentioned that generally, as the body is being taken to the crematorium or maybe in the house or wherever, they chant a mantra called Ram Naam Satya. It's interesting to know this line. First is the word Ram. Now, to you, it seems that this name, Ram, belongs to the son of Dashrath. Now, this is where a very interesting phenomena that happened. When the Son of God was pushed out from the domain of God and he started his creation work, and when he decided that God is coming and I have to ensure that no one goes to God, he knew that God was known as Ram. But he had to create one more Ram in the psyche of the human, in the narrative of the human, in the conversations of the human, and this word Ram will only refer to an individual who was born in Ayodhya. Now, no one will ever call God or Paramatma as Ram, because Ram has now been copyrighted in Ayodhya. The second thing, the mantra says Ram Naam Satya hai. What is the word Satya meaning? It means truth. But what does it really mean? What is true? What is true is that which is always. What is true is that which is eternal. What is true is that which doesn't change. What is true is it exactly remains in that form, in that way forever. That is what is true. And anything which changes, anything which dies, anything which is immortal, anything which kind of goes through the emotional turmoil is not true. It is transient. So true and transient cannot be the same thing. And if true and transient cannot be the same thing, how can the Ayodhya of Ram be true? So how can the Ram of Ayodhya be Satya? There's another interesting conversation called Sat-Chitt-Anand, which sometimes people connect with Shiva. And I'm like, okay, so what is Sat for you? Sat is Shiva. So do you mean to say that Shiva is not immortal? Do you mean to say that Shiva doesn't die? Shiva dies. Every creation cycle, Shiva is dying and is again reborn. So Shiva cannot be Satya. So now Sat is gone. Even if you refer Sat to as the supreme being of our universe, not the true supreme being, but the supreme being of our universe, whom we refer to as the king, whom we refer to as Mahadev, whom we refer to as Allah, whom we refer to as Jehovah, whom we refer to as Father, whom we refer to as Ahura Mazda, whom we refer to as Vaheguru, whom we refer to as Adi Yogi, whom we refer to as Kal Brahm, whom we refer to as Jyoti Niranjan. So he has many names. In different culture, he comes across with different names. Same individual, the Son of God. Now, the moment we say Son of God, what pops up in your head is Jesus. But Jesus was the Son of God. But anyway, every religion has its own, what I would say, distortions or deceptions, not distortions. Deceptions is a better word. So coming back to Sat-Chitt-Anand. So there is no Sat because this one also dies again and again and again. This one called the Son of God. Because that is the curse that he carries, that you have to die. And when you die, creation comes to an end. And when you are again born, the creation begins. And many a times the creation has ended, many a times the creation has begun. So there is no Sat. Then comes the next word, Chit. Now Chit means consciousness. There is no consciousness in this universe. Why? Because the one who is the highest being in this universe, called the king, has no consciousness. And if the king has no consciousness, how can anyone down the line have consciousness? But you will say, no, there are spiritual gurus who have high consciousness. You will say there are masters who have high consciousness. You will say, no, there is Shiva who has high consciousness. You will say, no, there is Krishna who has high consciousness. None of them have consciousness. What they have is known as awareness. But unfortunately, consciousness and awareness has been merged together. There is only one individual who has consciousness, and that is God or Paramatma. The Son of God has no consciousness, and everyone down the line has no consciousness. Buddha has no consciousness, Mahavir has no consciousness, Ramana has no consciousness. That's what is known as mind. And what is mind? Mind is nothing but a controlling mechanism. And the way he can control, there is no one who can control more than that. And what is consciousness? Consciousness, one of the aspects of consciousness is an allowing phenomena. It allows everything. I tell people that God will not come and do much for you. You know why? Because if God does anything for you, God is going to go against his own son. And God says, I love my son. I don't love you, love the humans. The humans means nothing to God. But you feel that no, we are all the children of God. God should be so nice to us. God should be so benevolent. God should be so loving. No, God doesn't care about. Neither the king cares about you, nor the God cares about you. You do not care about the insects in your house. We are nothing more than that for God. Now, people don't like this kind of conversations. Why? Because it breaks their dream. People don't want to confront reality. And how do I say all these things? Because I know everything firsthand. My knowledge doesn't come from books. And that's why you will find in my voice a conviction. But it is a conviction that doesn't want to really overpower you. It just wants to deliver and move on. I have not come here to make you my follower. I have not come here to convince you about what I am saying. I have not come here to change you from one slot to another slot. Because I don't care about all these things. In my eyes, you are perfect where you are, the way you are, and whatever you are doing in order to pass your time before you die. And that being so, why should I try to make you a different person? Why would I want to give you a different set of beliefs? So I tell people, don't believe in me. I tell people don't agree with me. Why? Because you do not have the capacity to really evaluate me. You do not have the capacity to check what I am saying. You do not have the capacity to kind of explore the true or falsity of my statements. You don't have them. Up till now, how did you live? You just lived by reading books. You just lived by hearing to the masters and the gurus and the teachers and the acharyas. That's how you lived. That was the only access you had to whatever we call as Gyan. But here is the man who comes and tells you that I don't speak from the books. I don't speak from a place of the domain that you live. I speak from the place of beyond the domain. And I am not under the hypnosis of the one who has hypnotized you. Because I went against that person a long time ago. And I tell people, and maybe I am boasting, you might feel it, that it is all his Ankar speaking. But it was that when Shiva came and he learned that how he has been fooled by his father. And how was Shiva fooled? His father said to Shiva, go down and give humans the knowledge of religion and spirituality. And what did Shiva feel? Shiva felt that I will be able to free the humans from all their suffering and pain. Because my knowledge is so beautiful and everyone will practice what I tell them, everyone will accept what I tell them, everyone will follow what I tell them, and no human will ever have any suffering and pain. That is what Shiva thought. And Shiva took birth multiple times as a human. But every time he failed. He didn't understand his failure. Because he didn't know his father, what his father was doing. It's only when I told him that this is what your father is doing. And he was shocked. And then he took the mantra. But when he started practicing that mantra, his father came and said, no, you cannot do it. And this guy whom you worshipped, this guy whom you considered to be a very macho man, this guy whom you considered to be very brave, whom you considered to be very ultimate, couldn't stand in front of his father. He was scared of his father. No scripture tells you that. I stood in front of his father for now 9 years. But he couldn't. So all the gods that you worship and everything that you know about these gods through your scriptures, they are untrue. They are not true. So we come back to Sat-Chitt-Anand.
But you said also that Shiva has gone back to the real God. So
Yeah, that is another aspect of the conversation.
at the end of him not following.
Once he realized what happened and once he realized that how he is being treated by his God, no one likes to be fooled. And he didn't like it either, but there was no option for him. Now there is an option. And he chose the other one.
And the real Paramatma. he chose. And then you also said that anyway, those who were worshipping him in the name of all that.
Yeah, I did say because people ask
in
me,
Ayodhya.
if Shiva has gone to Paramatma, that means if I go and worship in the Shiva temple, will I get connected with Paramatma? I say no. The father of Shiva has already ensured that that temple will connect you with whatever you call as Bhagwan, whatever you call as Mahadev. Sat-Chitt-Anand. So that's how I said that there is no Sat and there is no Chit. And if there is no Sat and there is no Chit, how can you access Anand? Because you do not know what truly creates Anand. Anand is not something that you can create in the materialistic world. You cannot create through your meditation. You cannot create through your any kind of spiritual practice.
We had so many questions. My some questions just came after you talked. How old is Shiva?
Shiva is only as old as the creation cycle is, but God doesn't tell me much about the creation cycle. I mean, how old the current creation cycle is, God doesn't talk much about that.
Okay. Is the king in the form of human being?
Yeah, the king has a similar forms structure like a human. We are basically created in the way God created the human. God means the ultimate God. So I will use two words, God and king, just to differentiate.
So I'm asking about king.
Yeah, so God created all his sons the way God is, and God created the human the way God is. So this is also the structure of God.
God or king?
Both.
Both. Okay. I go to my written questions is, if the God has created the king, how come the king goes against the God's will? Did the God not know that what he is going to create will go against?
God knows everything, but God doesn't still stop anything. God is perfectly alright with things going haywire. God is perfectly alright with things going against him. God is perfectly alright with his own structure breaking down. I have seen my work breaking down multiple times, and I would go into depression. Years of work will be washed away. And I'm like, we wasted so much. But I didn't understand that God always came back in a new way from a different direction because I was against the king, and king would come and destroy the work that we were doing. And that's why it took us such a long time.
So do you say that the king is more powerful than God?
It is not that the king is more powerful, but God has something which is known as ethics. And in that ethics, one of the thing is that God will not come in the way of his son in what he is doing. God will not exert his strength in order to curb his own son. God will not stop his own son from doing exactly everything that is he is doing. And it took me many years ultimately to realize, and that was my biggest frustrations in my initial years, that why don't you stop the king? Why can't you give me the power? If you don't exert your power, I told God, you give me your power, I'll do it. And God said, if I don't do it, you also don't do it. Which means you have to go through the pain that the king is inflicting on you. And this is where people make a wrong judgment because they feel the king is more powerful. No, this is not the house of God. This is the house of king. And in that house, God will not stop king from doing what he is doing. God has different way from carrying out his work without stopping the king.
Okay. Like you said, the book says that uh, the story is already written. So the story for the king must also be having written.
No, I'm talking about the humans.
So I asked if the king is also human in the form.
No, in form he is like that, but king is not human.
What's the difference?
King is the son of God, and humans were created in order to feed the king with our grind.
So we don't have any ounce of God.
We do have our energy bodies was given to us by God, and our physical body, our mind, our character, or which is personality, and the fourth one, which we call as spirit. These four things were given to us by king.
Okay. And last one.
Yeah.
If the storyline is already written, then can we change it?
No, we cannot change it.
Then how in the book also says that if the story allows, you can change.
I do not, the story can never allow. Did I really write if the story allows?
So I may be
I do not,
misquoting, kindly correct.
I cannot remember why writing that. But But if you can locate that portion, please do. I will have to make corrections. Thank you.
So you spoke about consciousness and awareness. I was a bit shaken because I thought both are same. So I looked up. So consciousness says it means the ability to process information and make sense of it, and awareness is the ability to only perceive. So it means that we as humans can only be aware, and you as God, you can be conscious. So we can just listen to you, but we cannot make a choice. Am I right?
Read that portion about what is consciousness and stop.
Consciousness is the ability to process information and make sense of it.
Isn't artificial intelligence doing that already?
Yeah.
And tomorrow it will do much better than the humans?
True.
And then can we say that artificial intelligence has consciousness?
Then so is artificial intelligence God?
Definitely not. That means there's something wrong with this statement.
So can you clarify? Because what I feel is, if I'm just aware, then you have not given me choice to be conscious. I mean, I cannot process anything. I can just be aware. Like you are telling, I'm just listening, but I don't have a choice.
Truly, you do not have a choice.
Yeah, so am I right in making that statement that awareness doesn't allow us to make a choice?
It's not that awareness doesn't allow you to make a choice, but you do not have the capacity to make a choice.
So is the definition of awareness right there?
Awareness means you are aware of everything. And currently you are aware of me sitting in front of you. If your awareness increases, you will become simultaneously aware of all the people without looking at them. If your awareness increases much more, you will actually be able to see beyond dimensions, which means you will be able to see the non-physical worlds. If your awareness goes much further, you will be able to see the end of the universe.
So is there a possibility that we humans can be king or gods?
But there is no possibility.
Thank you.
Pradip, you just said that God doesn't care, right? Whether we are happy, we are sad. This is what I understand what you said, right? So, what do you think? How are we to live? We look up to God, He'll take away all our problems. Emotionally, we are attached, right? But now when you're saying God doesn't care, so how are we human beings supposed to live? I see godliness in everybody. So then what do I see in them?
What do you mean by godliness?
Like now as far as a human, what I understand, He is perfect, He takes care of us, He's loving, He's sharing, He will help us to, give me that power to take the actions where I can come out of all the things which I'm not very comfortable with.
Is that a reality in your life?
Yes, it can be. Like I lost my parents very early at the age of 7.
So are you saying you have no pain, no suffering in your life?
No, I have. That's what I'm telling. So because at that time I used to look up to God, right? He's there with me, and that would give me the power.
God deliver.
Maybe it gave me the power to take actions in my life to face it. That's what I understand, because that is what I've seen my grandparents doing it, my mother doing it.
So when you examine life, and do not examine just your life, because you may be someone who is very strong. You may be someone who is not easily disturbed. You may be someone who has the capacity to process pain and suffering. Look into humanity, how miserable humanity is. And where is this loving God? Are they not all praying to the God?
Right.
Then why is not God coming and really giving relief from all this suffering and pain? Why does He make the humans suffer so miserably? So doesn't that shake you in your faith to God?
No, it doesn't shake my faith in the sense maybe that is how they are not accepting and taking actions in their life. My meaning of this is, then how do we human live?
So
what are we supposed to live?
You think taking actions are going to make you better than what you are?
So if I don't take actions, then what do I live for?
I don't know.
So that is what to know.
I'm only you just said that taking actions is important for you.
But that is how we live. That is what my every moment is. I'm doing something.
But it is not giving you relief from your suffering and pain. And when I say you, I am talking about humanity. What is happening is taking action just gives you a distraction from your suffering and pain. Some people use actions like going into entertainment. Some people use actions like going into eating. Some people take actions like going and into the mall for shopping. Some people take actions. So all these distractions, there's a whole list that humans have designed in order that they do not have to confront their own suffering and pain. Some people take actions to make money and more money. Some people take actions to become knowledgeable and more knowledgeable. Some people take actions to meditate and meditate more and more. But what are they doing? Basically, they are doing is that they are distracting themselves from their own pain and suffering.
But then by creation, he has given us the intellect, right? Otherwise, I would have been a plant. He's not doing anything. Even if he's suffering, I'm beating him, I'm cutting it, he's going back again. So I have that intelligence with me. They don't have the intelligence. So it means, should I look up to them to live how to live?
The plants are more intelligent than the humans.
Because they don't speak. That is why we've made this.
No, when we look into reality, we see that the way they process things, the way they adapt, the way they survive, without creating any drama, without creating any kind of judgment and criticism, and in trying to be giving rather than taking, the plants are more intelligent than us. Human intelligence cannot be called as intelligence.
Okay. So in the end, suppose if you said ki if I'm not good, if my karmas are not good, he will throw me away from the realm. What is the realm? Something you said, no? He will not be in.
Did I say anything like if karma is not good?
No, I forgot the word what you said. I meant to say in my lay language, what I understand as karma, my actions. You said if you're not that way, then he will throw you away from his circle, na, that ring. You will not be in that circle.
God.
He will ease you out. That's what
Ease you out. Something else. He said that.
You do not follow the will of God, either God will step back or ease you out from his domain.
So to be in his realm, do I have to be very good? Or do I have to be kind? Do I have to be loving? Do I have to do the best? What is required then?
You have to only follow the will of God.
But how do I know what is the will of God?
You will know when it is time to know, like I know. God has not given any will to the humans.
So there we are. Then how do we live?
But you're already living. There's nothing wrong.
So then it will be like mechanism. Then it's like, yeah, I'm just breathing. I'm just living.
That's exactly how you will live. We call it time pass.
So it means if I get angry, it's fine. If I'm loving, it's fine.
I get angry in a big way.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
So if I manipulate, that's also fine.
Everything is fine.
So it means no reactions. I should not be reacting to.
No, you
okay.
You can be reactive. Why not?
So is that good or is that bad now?
It's neither good nor bad.
So I just go on doing what is required.
What else can you do? Why should you want to be anything different than what?
The society boundaries come to interest. No? They throw us away. Then she's bad. She's not nice. Right? Then I'm confused now.
Now if you no, there's no need for confusion. Either you decide you want to live for yourself or you want to live for others.
What do you think I should do?
No, I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I live for God. I don't even live for myself. In your case, there is no such thing as living for God. In your case, it is just whether you want to live for yourself or you want to live for others. If you want to live for others, live a life of sacrifice. If you want to live for yourself, then sacrifice others from your life.
Both.
And I'm not talking about good. I'm not talking about this.
Yeah.
What about?
Consequences about.
Consequences? Yeah, anything that you do has consequences.
Everything will have consequences.
Everything has consequences. You cannot escape consequences.
So then we have to act.
But you are already acting. Why are you making it complicated?
Confused, not complicated.
But you are confused as if there is something wrong with the way you are living. I don't see anything wrong with the way you are living. You are saying that. I am seeing you are perfect the way you are living.
But if we don't like those consequences also?
Then you take different set of actions.
Change.
Again, another set of consequences will follow.
But still, if you're forced to take those steps of those actions?
There is no one forcing you, and yet you do not have any freedom. Both are true.